Hello? Who's that? Oh, hi. What are you doing out in this mess?
1, 2, 3.
We weren't doing anything. We were just messing up.
4. 5. 6.
'Must be my imagination.
7.
Can I help you? Hello?
8. 9. 10. 11. 12. Friday, the 13th. You may only see it once, but that will be enough. Friday, the 13th.
They're coming to get you. They're coming for you, Barbara. They're coming to get you.
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh, hi. What are you doing out in this mess? I guess they came to get me, Gavin, because they're coming to get you, whatever the show's called. I don't even know at this point. But I'm Brent Terhune and my co-host,
Gavin Eddings. What's going on, Brent?
Hey, well, we're watching the original, the OG ripoff. No,
Pretty much. I mean, that is what
that's what they said.
That's what they said they were doing, and they did it.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and this for me, and I can't believe we were releasing this on a Friday the 13th. We're not. I don't even know when the next one is, honestly. I think we had one back in May. We did have one back in May, and then I don't know when the next one is.
I was impressed with your foresight because I haven't even thought that far ahead about when we're releasing this. So
yeah, no, I have absolutely no idea. It might come out next year. Be like, this is the last. You may have already got tired of this podcast, but we had to release this on a Friday the 13th, even though episodes come out on insert day of the week here.
Yes.
But yeah, so Friday the 13th for me is my favorite horror franchise. There are Freddy people, there are Jason people, there are Michael Myers people. You are a Michael Myers person. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah.
And I am a Jason person. So we are natural enemies.
Well, we're definitely natural enemies. Over my right shoulder is just about 20 different Jason figures, but of course we are natural enemies.
And over my right shoulder over here, you can see all of my Jason's up there as well.
Very toyetic, if we're going to throw that term out there.
He is very toyetic.
Lends himself to being different toys that we must purchase.
Yeah, and we can talk about how toyetic he is and just how the slight variations of how Jason is. But Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise. However, Friday the 13th, the original, is not one of my favorites. It's probably not in my top 3 or 5.
Okay.
Because
of the franchise is what you mean, right?
Of the franchise, yes. Of all the big horror staples, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, that first movie is a classic. But Friday the 13th really doesn't pick up steam until 3 or 4 movies into it. when it becomes what you come to expect with Jason with the hockey mask. Everything else, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, Elm Street, they all had their primary killer. They had Leatherface, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger. This is not Jason's movie. Friday the 13th Part 1 is not a Jason movie. It is kind of a weird whodunit that's not really a good whodunit. It's kind of like Violent Scooby-Doo. If you never saw the killer at all, if every Scooby-Doo episode was like, oh, Mrs. Voorhees, and you're like, I thought it was going to be the carnival worker.
Mrs. Voorhees at all in this episode.
Be like, huh?
Old Man Leahy, we didn't meet him at all.
Who's old? What's an Old Man Leahy?
I'm not. Who is that?
Bubblegum Jones just unmasked her.
We've one of the 3 Globetrotter episodes.
Yeah, so
you don't need to know the killer if you know the Globetrotters, Gavin.
I learned that from Scooby-Doo, that when the Globetrotters aren't putting in work on the court, they're solving murders and
That's
crimes and mysteries.
Well, that somehow run into the gang in their travels a lot, apparently.
Zoinks, Bubblegum Jones, we had courtside seats last night. Can you help us solve a murder?
It's so we're talking about Scooby-Doo on the Friday 13th episode, but
also I keep pretending that Scooby-Doo is solving actual murders when they were like very, very low key,
trying to jack up the price of real estate. Essentially,
it's
on
mostly
a lot of them.
Like they solve mostly misdemeanors. Like it's nothing. It's like misdemeanor theft. It's not grand larceny. If they had like a domestic abuse case they had to solve, they'd be like, we're out, guys. Sorry, this is not our pay grade.
I want to see Scooby-Doo SVU. I also want to see them take the mask off somebody and it's Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. It's right up our alley. To believe that these either like 25 to 30 to 40-year-old black gentlemen who do basketball tricks want to hang out with these white kids solving mystery, like that doesn't sound fun at all. Like,
first off, the van can't be that big. The van is very cramped, so their legs are getting real cramped up. They're in there with a Great Dane, which is a stinky dog. You never see the episode where they wash Scooby. That never happens.
That does happen, but
I'm sorry,
that's neither here or there on this Friday the 13th podcast.
All right, let's get back to
Friday. But I digest, Gavin. So you don't think this is like a good first entry is what I'm hearing?
No, it's not, because it's not a very well. It's kind of boring at times.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a while to get going. Like, yes, you have the opening scene with the counselors who are making out and they're just confronted by somebody like, oh, what are you doing here?
As I buckled my pants, we were just messing around.
We were just looking for, we dropped a contact. What's going on?
Clues. We were looking for clues.
We weren't doing anything. And then just that freeze frame of murder that we get for this. So that's where everything starts off. You got the spooky camp. You've got 2 camp counselors getting killed. That becomes kind of like legendary. It's like the spooky urban legend of like, don't go to Camp Crystal Lake. It's Camp Blood. You can't go there because someone's going to kill you. But the entire premise of this movie, the director Sean Cunningham went to writer Victor Miller, who said, rip off Halloween.
And like he said that in the interview. Like I've seen him just say, rip it off.
Just do it.
I admire that he's like, yeah, we're taking it,
And they did that. And he laid it out how they ripped it off, that they needed to be at a place where adults weren't easily accessible, where the police couldn't get too easy. So they're like, let's do a summer camp. Mm-hmm. And so then they kind of did the whole Jason drown thing, and they had to base it on like a quote unquote holiday, because Halloween kicked off like, we got to make a slasher movie about every holiday, no matter if it's just a superstitious Friday the 13th.
April Fools.
You've got My Bloody Valentine, which is actually a very good one, which I actually very much enjoy. So you've got that in Friday the 13th. But yeah, as far as good entries, people like to confuse a lot of things from the sequels into the first Friday the 13th. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh man, I love that scene when he impales the 2 people on the bed. and it's like, that's Friday 2. That's not, you're not thinking about the first movie. I love that scene when they give the Jason speech around the campfire. It's like, that's also Friday 2.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those where it's a victim of the rest of the franchise, because it's in Scream when he's like, who was the killer in Friday the 13th? And she's like, Jason. And he's like, wrong, bitch.
I saw that movie 18 goddamn times.
Yeah. Like it's one of those where we've gone back and in our own heads rewritten the history of that is Jason, and it wasn't Jason, it was the mother. And I think you and I couldn't disagree more on our thoughts for this movie, Gavin.
Really? And see, I don't want to come across that you
are I don't know what you're about to say, but you are.
I do enjoy this movie. I do enjoy it, and I love the franchise, but as far as a first entry, it is not as solid as the other juggernauts of the horror genre.
Well, yeah, this. I was watching this last night and thinking, like, if they just would have started out with Friday the 13th Part 2 somehow, and that was the first one, this would have been a later prequel. Yes. Like they've done with the Saw franchise or whatever. Like, this would have been, I think, a great prequel, or this would have been a TV series.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. I like a whodunit. I think this is and that, we say it's a ripoff of Halloween, and that's what Sean Cunningham said. But besides a slasher trope, I don't think this really has much to do with Halloween at all.
Yeah, and I think that the tropes are there, the teenagers being stalked by somebody, getting killed one by one. I think that definitely is Halloween all over. And as far as the whodunit goes, I love me a good whodunit, but you have to introduce characters who could have done it. It would have been like in Scream if they reveal the killer to be somebody we've never seen before.
Yeah, but I guess maybe it's if it was like a first viewing, I'd be like, oh, hold on, who's this? I don't like it when they introduce somebody we've not met before. But in this case, like, I've seen this movie a ton, so to me, in hindsight, I'm like, I don't mind that at all, and I think the trope of, oh, you got to be a virgin if you do drugs, you have sex or whatever, that now that's so, like, if you just saw this in 1980 right after Halloween, you could be like, oh, they killed the people that did the drugs and smoked or whatever. But like, I feel like that is such a trope in horror anymore that it's like, sure, that's just the rules, These
the breaks, kids.
Yeah, I feel like, besides being a slasher movie and more of a slasher than Halloween, I don't think there's a lot that's, I don't think it's a straight ripoff of Halloween.
I do think Halloween laid the groundwork, but I do think they tried to up the violence and really up the ante with Friday the 13th. And that is one thing that it does do very well, is the gore effects, is the violence. It is a violent movie by 80s standards. Like, it's very violent, even though it has, like we've talked about several times in these episodes, it has the psycho effect where you think you're seeing more than you really do. You
see the after effect of it, and it just so happens that the after effect is pretty gruesome. Like
one of the, and I don't want to get too far ahead if we're going to recap, but there's one of the most iconic scenes. It's a very subtle part, but the scene where one of the characters is in the shower area and she turns around, she thinks she sees somebody, she's not, and then you see the axe slowly raise up behind her, and the axe hits the light as it comes down, and then it lands in her face. You never see it enter her face. You think you do, but what happens is they did a camera trick where they had the axe hit the light to give you that impression that it hit her face, because when it hits the light, it's loud, it gives it weight to it, so it's not a prop, and that really adds to the impact, seeing just how hard that axe came down.
Yeah, Tom Savini has said in interviews of, like, if you can have it interact with like a real object to make it, clearly it's a rubber thing, and even if they didn't show it, how they did it was they probably attached it to her face and then pulled it back and then played that backwards like they did on Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, like it's one of those where it's like, clearly we all know this is fake, but sometimes there are other things in this movie where I'm like, in hindsight, I'm looking back, I'm like, okay, that's, if you just look, it's not real. Like the guy's neck is a different color.
Mhm.
That, you know, but we'll jump in it. Let's start out with it came out May 9th, 1980. The budget was $550,000. The box office was 59.8 million. Directed by Sean Cunningham and written by Victor Miller. So how do you want to, you want to start with the characters, or how do you want to start, Gavin?
Let's go ahead. Well, we've got some characters here who are not the most memorable. I think that you have a few. You have Alice, who's the final girl, played by Adrian King. She is definitely probably the standout character of this. There are more standout characters in future entries and then you also have Kevin Bacon, whose character name is Kevin Bacon. Like that's who it is.
Is that his name? I didn't even look because he's gonna be Ken for this episode. Like I'm just gonna call him Kevin Bacon.
His name is Jack. So we're gonna call him Kevin Bacon because he
called him Abs is what I call him.
Oh yeah, call him Mr. Footloose. Oh, look at Mr. Footloose over here, Mr. Tremors.
Yeah, I like to call people by their most obscure movie reference. Sam Neill is not from Jurassic Park. He's Mr. Omen 3.
Mr. Event Horizon over here. Look at him.
Look at this guy.
Look at this guy doing Hellraiser in space, even though Hellraiser went to space. So you've got some good characters here. You got, of course, Betsy Palmer as Mrs. Voorhees, who thought the movie was a piece of shit and did it for basically the money.
Yeah, for sure.
And then she made that sweet con money.
It is weird with like a recommendation at the end of this that I will say you should watch is Crystal Lake Memories, and I think you've seen it too.
If you have
Gavin,
13, if you have 28 hours to
if you have to watch a long ass documentary, instead of rewatching the movies, just watch that documentary. It's pretty much the same thing, but
it's very good.
There's interviews of her in there. I'm sure there are other, but like she couldn't sound more pretentious about horror and everything. Like clearly didn't want to be in it. And the story, she needed a new car, and it just, I got this gig, I'll buy this car or whatever. But I like her performance in this, and I think it's a bit over the top, but I think when you listen to that lady just speak, she's a bit over the top type of person anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I and we've mentioned before, I love actors that are like, I did it for the money. I did it for the paper. I don't care. I don't need to make art. I gotta buy a car. So and then she became like a horror icon as Jason's mother. She probably took this role thinking it wouldn't be anything. And
she thought nobody was gonna see it.
and then it just like it made so much money, and like people would see it like every year, and it led to like sequels every year for like the next like 6 or 7 years. Even though that she never got to come back for any of them, or wanted to, I don't think, because she gets spoiler murdered. She does.
Damn.
I know. I'm sorry. I spoiled this 42-year-old movie for you. I'm really sorry. I should have put the spoiler warning up. But the characters in this, they're good, but they're not as memorable, except for Kevin Bacon being Kevin Bacon and the main Mrs. Voorhees and Alice. The rest are just kind of there to get killed.
Just bodies.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. Crazy Ralph is also very good. Because he's there to just tell everybody they're doomed.
And then just pedal away on a bicycle, something like.
That is, I forget about that because again, sometimes my mind switches 1 and 2 a lot.
Yeah,
because they're very similar. But I was like, is that the one when Crazy Ralph just Wicked Witch of the West it away after telling them that doomed. He rings his bell and he goes away.
And I will say that the one I watched, I think it's the Scream Factory, whatever the box set that came out.
Yeah.
And I chose to watch the uncut Friday the 13th. So there are, I've seen this movie a bunch, but I'd have to watch back to back to tell you what's cut and what's uncut. but I feel like some of the scenes with Crazy Ralph are extended for no reason, I think. But
so most of the extended, because that was a huge deal when the uncut version of Friday the 13th came out, because allegedly a lot of things got cut by the MPAA as far as like violence and gore and things like that. So back, I think in the mid to late 2000s, they finally released it on DVD and Blu-ray, the uncut Friday the 13th. And it only adds like maybe 30 to 35 seconds of actual footage. And it's just very, very minimal, like gore shots of just like when Kevin Bacon gets killed, there's like a little more blood spurting from like the arrow hole.
I feel like that scene was a little longer too than what I remember. And there's like some like shots that like they could have been cut and it didn't really change it. But I think like the uncut version better. Or like there's a scene where they're going to the office. Tell me if you remember this, where it's Adrian King and I don't remember the guy that gets the arrows, Bing Crosby's son. They go into the office to call somebody, and they break the window. The phone's dead, and then they go to the payphone. That phone's dead. They try to start this truck, it won't start. But like there's a scene where it shows like the phone wire outside of the office, and it shows where it's been cut. Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember that in like the theatrical cut. Honestly, I probably watched the uncut version more than the theatrical version.
Yeah,
so
this is the thing where they release different versions, and I'm just like, I don't know at this point.
Like, what is the pure full frame black and white version that I should be watching?
35 millimeter.
Yes, unless you're watching it on the biggest IMAX, you haven't really seen Friday the 13th.
What would Betsy Palmer watch it? What version would she watch? That's how pretentious I'm trying to get.
She would watch it on an old penny arcade where she like turns the wheel.
Nickelodeon. Rubbish.
This is real art.
So yeah, go ahead, Gavin.
Yeah. So just the whole doomsayer thing and the characters, and the movie starts out basically with, like we said, the two camp counselors getting killed by a mysterious person. I don't know was Mrs. Voorhees. Was she like a cook or something at the camp?
She was the cook at the camp. And also a parallel from Halloween. It starts out similarly with somebody coming upon people that just had sex with Halloween. It's Judith Myers getting killed. But now that we talk about that, is a very similar. Let's set it up. Let's have somebody get killed at the very beginning and then do a time jump type thing.
What we don't know is we don't know how long the camp counselors lasted compared to Judith and her two-pump chump boyfriend.
All right. I'm done. I'm out of here. Bye.
I wish they would have noticed that. It just had a line where like the girl tells the camp counselor boy, like, that was the best 45 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
Just like, God damn, son.
And he's like, I got mine. I don't care. I got mine.
Just that'd be a really good parody where it's just horror movie characters talking about how long they lasted while the killer's trying to kill them.
Yeah, when you flipped it and reversed it. Oh my God. That was my
when I had 45 orgasms, I couldn't believe it. You were so good.
I had 13 orgasms
on this Friday. So these camp counselors get killed in the most unconvincing. We weren't doing nothing.
Yeah.
Gee golly.
As I buckled at my pants and she's putting her shirt back on.
So they get stabbed to death. And then we flash forward to the nowadays. We've got this girl, Annie, who's trying to get to Camp Crystal Lake because they're opening it up. And everybody's like, you shouldn't be doing that. You should not be going up there. She gets a ride with a truck driver for a little bit, but she does get the doomsayer of Crazy Ralph, who's like, it's got a death curse. Not just a curse.
Never come back again.
Not just a curse, a death curse, which is the worst kind of curse to have.
I mean, is it like, I guess the kid drowned and then two other people got murdered. Does that qualify as a death curse?
That just seems like an accident and two murders. There's never like anything deeper about, oh yeah, Camp Crystal Lake, it's on Indian burial ground. The ground's gone sour. No, it's just like this guy just like, somebody got killed. Curse. That is a good, that's a huge conclusion to jump to, Crazy Ralph. And that's saying something.
And that's just only counting the deaths we know about. It's a camp. I'm sure somebody else had died there. Like,
probably. That's the prequel we need. We just need how many people were actually there.
Not even horror. Let's just see the day-to-day at Camp Obi Bose or whatever it's called. I got it in my notes, but this Boy Scout camp.
The actual real camp, which is actually, isn't it in New Jersey?
Yeah, Blairstown, I think. It's in my notes somewhere that I have. But I was really bummed, and this is a spoiler, but this is all spoilers. Part 2, like, Crazy Ralph gets it. I would just like this dude to be sticking around for some reason, and I think there were fan theories, and I like to subscribe to this, that this is Jason's dad. Like, it just seems fun. Like, this guy just spawned a serial killer, and now he's trying to warn everybody about it.
I would have liked to have seen Crazy Ralph live long enough to interact with the graveyard keeper from part 6.
Fart head.
Just in like, you're doomed, you fart head. They would have had some good drinking stories. They would have had a good time. I want to see like a doomsday off of like the Harbinger of Doom guys of like, no, I'll tell you how dead you're gonna be. And then it's like, no, you're gonna be this dead. Then you could have old Judd from Pet Cemetery show up and be like, it's got a death, it's got a ground sour.
Sometimes dead is better.
And be like, that guy's got he's got some good ideas.
He's got some good chops. Don't go down that road. All that. We need to compile over doing this podcast all the doomsday people that come out of everywhere. If we watch Cabin in the Woods, we can use that guy too, the gas station guy.
You always got to meet a doomsday person at like an off-road diner or like at a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's definitely a trope where it's like a dirty off the road, off the highway type place. Like, oh yeah, you don't want to go up there. You're like, do you have a job? Are you just?
I think it's pretty clear that I don't.
I'm just here to buy fireworks.
Let me get $1. Like they call this guy Crazy Ralph. Like, everybody knows this dude. Like, the cops know him. Like, he's just Crazy Ralph. Did you ever have anybody in your town that's just like, yeah, that's broke Eric, he's just always asking for money, like?
I don't know if we had anything like that. I do have people I know. I'm not going to say their nicknames on here because I know. He goes by Big Cat, and it's just like, you are in your 40s.
Okay.
Like, yeah, there's Big Cat. It's like, you're in your 40s. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, and then he'll introduce himself as Big Cat.
He does. And I'm like, no, that's not okay. It's
there's a guy here in Indianapolis, and he's like at stoplights. It would be in like a vacant parking lot, but he's known for like riding his bike, but he rides the bike backwards. So he's backwards on the bike, and like he'll juggle these sticks. So like he's been on like TV interviews and stuff, but if somebody was like, oh, the guy that rides his bike backwards on Emerson, and people be like, oh yeah, I know that guy. That's as close as we have to Crazy Ralph, and I don't think that guy's crazy. I just think he's kind of like a local staple. Now
that you mentioned that, we do have one local staple that's not Big Cat. His name's Billy the Flag Waver. Mm-hmm. It's this old dude, just loves America. He'd be down by the Evansville riverfront. He would just like stake flags near one of our busy downtown intersections, mm-hmm. near the river. He would just put flags there and just wave the American flag all day, just wave at people. And like, that's Billy the Flag Waver.
Yeah, and then like, I want to know the history of Billy the Flag Waver.
They did like an expose on him in the local paper, because they're like, he's always there.
Yeah,
and he's not doing anything wrong. And I think the city got him an apartment a lot or something, because we were all worried about him.
Yeah.
They're like, what happened? He hasn't been out there waving his flags lately.
Yeah. Are you like, I haven't seen Jerry the bike guy in a while. You're like, I hope he's all right.
What you didn't know though is Crazy Ralph is not crazy for his doomsaying. He's crazy because he has a furniture store, and these prices are out of this world.
And the camera, if we had the camera's going to zoom in and out because he's so crazy.
If you shop anywhere else, your wallet is doomed. It's doomed.
Crazy Ralph furniture. I love Crazy Ralph. Also, I just find it weird that like it's 20 miles from the town to Camp Crystal Lake, so the guy just drops the girl off 10 miles in. Like, you still got 10 more miles to walk. This is nuts.
Thank you for taking me half of the way, but
Yeah.
I feel like I could have just walked this at this point. Like I could have. Then Annie is kind of the trope of the first girl getting it, because we follow her for a while. She's in this for like the first probably quarter of the movie. She gets picked up by a Jeep, which is normally a man's vehicle, but as we come to turn out, ladies can drive Jeeps too. She gets picked up by
a Jeep thing, Gavin. You wouldn't understand.
You're right, salt life. She gets picked up by an unseen figure. They kind of talk for a little bit, or Annie talks to her. Nothing. Yeah. It's a very one-sided conversation. Like, this is not a very good Uber. Like, this is not. It's either the perfect Uber if you're the passenger, or the worst if you're the Uber driver. Like, do not pick up Annie. She will talk the whole fucking time.
Thinking it's Michael Myers in part 5, where he's got those driving gloves and stuff, and he's driving angry, the brute. But if you give me 5 stars if you could, please.
There's water in the glove box.
I got some mint if just here's the aux cord if you're looking to play any.
I got that remix. And Steve Aoki did a great remix of it. It really gets you going in the club.
Yeah, but she's driving angry, and she ends up jumping out of the Jeep.
Yeah, because she's like, "Oh, you passed my turn." So you have a truck driver who won't take her far enough. You have this
too far.
Too far. It's like, I need somebody to get me just right.
Yeah.
So
she bear over here.
So she just barrel rolls out of the car, and then is chased down in the woods. And you got to give Mrs. Voorhees some credit here. For a woman of her age, she is moving in this forest.
Yeah,
doing trail running.
Yeah, she's a great killer, except for when it comes to head-to-head combat, and you know it's coming. Because that was my note watching this. I'm like, man, you're hitting her with a broom and shit. Like, if you just could stab her from the back, you'd be great at this. But like, if they know it's coming, she's not a very effective killer at all.
Yeah, so she sneaks up on Annie, cuts her throat. Very hairy hand does it.
Yeah,
because it's not Betsy Palmer's hand. Is it Tom Savini's hand?
Or there was a Tasso, I think it was his like assistant, but either way, I'll do the Jerry Seinfeld and say she had man hands.
Yes, that is a very good Seinfeld reference. So Annie gets killed, and then that's it for Annie. That's it for Annie, this character we've been following for like the first quarter of the movie.
But like that's a I don't know if it wasn't really a trope then. It certainly is now. Of if the girl that's at the beginning, you got to stick with her all the way through. I mean, that's a Psycho thing.
Yeah, because Psycho, you stayed with her much longer.
Yeah, till like the middle, and then you're like, what?
Yeah, well, when I watched Psycho for the first time, I thought the shower scene took place in like the first 10 minutes or something. I thought that was an opening kind of like Scream. But yeah. I was like, oh, we following Janet Leigh for a while. We're just.
And then she gets it, and then new person comes in. So.
And you're like, no, this is not. We gotta go run it back, Alfred. Yeah. Run it back. This is not how you make a movie.
Well, Victor Miller kind of took the trope of the mother thing from Psycho, but flipped it. So now it's the mother killing. So maybe he was directly inspired by that.
Yeah, absolutely. Once Annie gets killed, we actually meet the other campers who show up, and it's led by Alice. You've got some very mustached, sexy, rugged late 70s men who are there to
with no shirt, but then a scarf tied around his neck, or a handkerchief.
And it's a look. And then you've got Steve Christie, who's like trying to start the camp up again with a very, very pre-Top Gun mustache.
Like Steve Christie would be in a Pride Parade today.
Yes, and he would have been one back there.
Yeah,
he would have been throwing bricks at cops at Stonewall. Like, I have absolutely no doubt Steve Christie has a secret, and it's not about the bodies at the lake.
No. We also get who else that pulls up, because there was another scene in maybe the uncut. Is this the one where they get the truck is towed as a prank, or is that in part 2?
I think it's in part 1, because in part 2 it's mostly that Volkswagen Bug that I remember.
Maybe the Bug gets towed, but I was thinking, because there's not like a toe scene in this uncut one. That's the thing of I should have just watched them both back to back, but
side by side.
Yeah, on my 2 televisions, and I have a third just like Elvis, so I could watch 3 TVs at once. We get Ned's the funny guy.
Yeah.
And rewatching it last night, I'm like, man, this guy gets not as funny throughout the whole thing. Like clearly overcompensating for being nervous around women and just people in general. But that's what funny people do, is you make the joke before anybody else can make that joke about you.
Exactly. And that's why you are successful and I cry. I'm like, yeah, this is me. I'm not insecure.
I'm not. I'll just talk about the things you were already seeing about me, but I'll make it funny so you can't hurt me.
You guys ever have anxiety? What's up? You guys
Please.
What's the deal with this anxiety?
We've got Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one who instigates the strip Monopoly.
Yeah.
Have you ever played strip Monopoly, or I will just broaden it, have you ever played strip anything?
I have not. I don't know if you would believe this, but I was not popular during the times of strip games.
No.
Even in like college, like that was not something I ever did. And I had like friends in a friend group in college, but we were all friends. So it was never like,
let's get naked. Did you ever play Spin the Bottle?
No, never played Spin the Bottle.
7 Minutes in Heaven. Is that where you go into the closet with a person?
No, the only thing from childhood and like my teenage years I remember anything close to that was this is very dumb. There was when I was in 5th grade, there was this girl who I went to school with. Her name was Hannah. And I had a big crush on Hannah, and she invited everybody over for a Halloween party one year. And she had it in her basement. So it was all like in the basement, music, slow dancing, everything. I don't know if anybody made out or anything, because we were only in 5th grade, so we were like 10, 11. So that was like my first like boy-girl party experience. I didn't do super great at that boy-girl party because I dressed actually like Jason and scared everybody at first. Because like, who is that? Because I had like a sock cap on and a Jason mask. They're like, who is that? Who is that? Who is it? Who is it? And then
you were
put all the
too committed to the role.
And then I tried to be cool, and like I'll never forget this. It's one of those memories that's like burned in your mind.
Right when you lay your head on the pillow and you're like, I'll be able to fall asleep. Oh no.
I tried to be cool.
You there now?
Yes.
You tried to be cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I tried to be cool, and I tried to be cool, and everybody was screaming, and I tried to do the cool thing. I pull my mask off and I go, "Can you believe you were scared of Gavin?" and then like, you need to leave this party. You are no longer invited.
Hit the bricks.
Hit the bricks. So that was one. And then most of my teenage experiences were at for high school were like at church dances. And I was raised very Mormon, and like went like Mormon youth group. So it was just like, don't do anything or else the Lord's watching. Don't think about anything. Hands on the waist here. Keep 2 Bible lengths apart. You cannot touch. So
I like that you guys measured things by the Bible.
Yeah, and they're like King James, unaltered version.
Well, I was measuring by pocket Bibles, baby. So bring it in a little bit.
You're like, oh, look at that dirty Terhune over there. He's only 1 Psalms apart from her.
Yep. Yeah. Psalm 69, baby. I don't even know if that's a psalm, but
I don't think they go up to 69.
That's the lost psalm they didn't want you to know about.
It actually, it's like an elevator. It's like the floors at a hotel. It goes 68, then right to 70.
Yeah, it's the 13. I've never played. I played my fair share of Monopoly, but I'm not. Believe it or not, the property trading game.
Just regular Monopoly. You're like, I'm really good at Monopoly, but the stripping comes in. No, I can't.
No thanks.
I'm not whipping my dick out for a utility. Not doing it.
You gotta whip out to 20% of your dick because that's what was on the dice.
If you want boardwalk, you got to show one ball, ball, all of it.
And I, to me, like knowing how to play Monopoly, I don't know how you justify. If you owe money, does that mean you give them an article of clothing then? So that kind of equals out the game. It's like if you landed on boardwalk, you owe the same as one of the low rent properties.
I feel like the low rent should be nastier. Be like, oh, you landed on Baltic? Oh, you got to give me some of them underwear. That's what I need.
But you got to keep the rest of your clothes on, but you got to somehow get the underwear off under your pants. I did have a thing recently. I was on the road and I got dressed quickly because I had to start driving to the next gig. I put underwear on. I put the pants on that I wore the night before, of course, because I'm just going to be in the car until I get to the thing. I'm getting gas at the gas station and I realize there's like something in my pants, like a bulge. So I like get the gas, but then I pull off to the side because I don't want to just be uncomfortable the whole drive. And I get out of the car and I reach into my pants and I realize the underwear from the night before were still in the pants, even though I'm wearing underwear. So I pulled it out and then I just look over to the gas pump and somebody's looking at me. That I just pulled out this whole thing underwear from my pants and I just got in the car and drove off because I'm never going to see these people again. It was like a magic trick for nobody.
Want to know how I got these scars?
Want to know how I got these BVDs?
If the person at the gas pump had any kind of comedic timing, they'd be like, "What's his name?"
Me. It was just me. It's just these wouldn't fit anybody else. We could talk about the kills. I mean, we have been touching on the kills, but we got the people roll up and then Steve Christie puts these people to work immediately. There's no like, hey, how are you? There is, but he's like, get to painting, essentially.
There's no welcome luncheon, anything. He's like, y'all want to work? You're here to work. We're doing it. Like, you don't, they get to meet somebody. They don't even get to worry about Annie for a while. Like, she'll be here when she gets here. We're burning daylight.
Well, that we get the feeling that there was something going on between Adrian King and Steve Christie of like, come on, give me another chance, babe. Mm-hmm. But it's never like she draws a picture of him, I guess, from the night before. So it's not really spoken or said what's happened in the movie.
Yeah, and these are all teenagers, correct? Like you assume they're all under like 18, high school.
I think they're all teenagers and Steve Christie.
Steve Christie over here trying to be like, come on, baby, take me to prom. It's like you're 35 at Pride.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like this came out in 80, but you know, might have been shot in 7. Like there's a time period where I'm like, you could be 18 or 40. I don't know, you know.
And nowadays it's kind of the same way where I can no longer tell ages. Like, yeah, that person's my age. Like that person is 12 years old, and like it's like what?
Yeah,
but they're dressed so well. That young man looks better than I do.
Their shit together clearly, and I'm just in a t-shirt over here.
Who let this TikTok star buy a home?
Yeah, I just pulled a second pair of underwear from my jeans.
So we're talking about kills and mixing up the movies. I swear to you, there is a kill in this. It's not, but I will swear on Solemn 69 that it is real. I thought when there's a scene where the guy runs to like the archery range in the rain and the lights come on, I swear that there is a scene where you see Mrs. Voorhees' hands pull back a bow and arrow and like arrow this dude. It does not happen. I do not know what that movie is. I don't know what movie that is from, but I could swear that there's a scene where they shoot a bow and arrow at somebody at the archery range.
Well, there's a scene where the funny guy Ned shoots the arrow at the girl, and she's like, "Are you crazy?" Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh, you're funny. You're sexy when you're mad or whatever, sweetheart." He does the impression. Like there's that, but this could be like a TCM type thing where you think you saw what you saw, but it wasn't there. Because there's a lot of kills that aren't even in the movie, but then you see the aftermath of that, you know?
Yeah, a lot of bodies being discovered, a lot of things like that. As far as kills go, very graphic for its time, pretty tame by today's standards.
Yeah, I mean that's most things of like back then they're like clutching pearls, but now they're like, yeah, let's just show it at 2 p.m. on TV. Nobody cares.
Whatever. The world is chaos.
And the interesting thing about this movie is nobody really knows anybody is dead until almost the end, like when Adrian finds the arrows through Bill. Like I wrote that down. I was like, I think this is the first time anybody realizes that somebody's dead.
And I don't know if that's from the script just being kind of haphazard and kind of rushed, but I think like there's not a lot of people at this camp, but then again, Christie's making them work so they couldn't really get a good look at who all's there.
Yeah. But I think part of it is like Mrs. Voorhees being pretty sly about it. Like she's picking them off, you know?
Yeah, she's got some Assassin's Creed level training. She's just getting in there, getting out, and then jumping into a hay barrel.
Yeah, she's got some ninja skills going on.
Yeah, so probably the most famous kill from this first one is going to be Kevin Bacon.
I mean, it's the most famous dude in the movie, you know. So
yeah, and I think if you'd given him the kill of Bill with like just being found with arrows, I don't think it would have been as big of a deal later on. But having Kevin Bacon get killed in such a grisly fashion, he has sex. And then he also says like, how did you like your 80 orgasms? Yeah. And she's like, I could have had 81.
You want to read from Psalm 69, baby?
so she walks off and then he's just laying there, just taking it all in. Just
on a dirty pillow with no pillowcase. None of these things have the sheets or pillowcases. Just a public domain pillow. No, thank you.
I watch I'm not a camping person. I don't like camping. I've stayed in like summer camp cabins before. As a Mormon youth, we would have this thing. We had a couple things like called youth conference. We had one at a summer camp one time. That was very Camp Crystal Lake, but just laying on like a dirty, awful mattress that somebody else has laid on and just not, I don't like it.
Look, Gab, if there's a chance I might get laid, okay. But if I'm sleeping there, no, thank you. That's the difference is like, if I'm just going to take a nap, I'll just sleep anywhere else. But if I'm going to read Psalm 69, I'll do that. Okay.
If I'm about to nut and run, yeah, we can get on this. We can get on this.
You made
mattress.
It filthy. You said nut and run. That's disgusting.
You got to nut and run. In Psalm 69, I said, "Thou shalt nut and run." Lay upon the dirty camp mattress.
That's like that could be a Seinfeld. Like, did he nut and run? Oh, he nutted and run.
He nutted and running. He did it. He got it. He got out.
You don't like the nut and run? I don't like the nut and run.
Is that a sign?
It could be.
You can't nut and run. You got to stay there. You got to cuddle a little bit. Jerry, I'm telling you, you can't nut and run.
It's the summer of George. I can't not nut and run. I have things to do, Jerry.
The women, they let you, Jerry.
And we're talking about previously in this episode, where like the kill, it's a cool kill because it's the blood spurt and there's something coming up from the bottom. But in hindsight, when I've watched the documentaries and seen Tom Savini talk about it, it's clearly the neck is a different color.
Yeah,
but it's also like, and I don't need it to be a spectacular kill.
Yeah,
I think it's still good. But if we're being nitpicky, I can see that it's clearly a dude's head coming through the thing. But that's probably me knowing how it is. I'm getting all Betsy Palmer about it, pretentious. But
if you get arrowed in the neck, your neck will stretch like silly putty first, and then it will pierce through, and then the blood will come out. Just logistically, it's a cool kill. It's a cool kill, but Mrs. Voorhees had to just be. I feel like he would have felt her trying to push the arrow, like
push the whole thing, from the bottom bunk. Like, so you don't have a lot of torque to be putting it through the bottom bunk. Was that an arrow, right?
Like, it's an arrow. And just her, just like this feeble old woman, just like trying to work this, be like, is there something under this bed? I know I just nutted, but
and just imagine Mrs. Voorhees under the bed the whole time.
She's just waiting, like, oh yeah.
And then and she's like, oh God, what did I sign up for? The thing that I'm killing these kids for. And now I'm just under the bed the whole time during Psalm 69.
I like to think she like was waiting outside the window and then like did a tactical roll in and just like rolled under the bed.
Yeah.
Like, now's the time.
Yeah, now it is. I prefer her to be under the bed the whole time.
Just the whole time. That's what a lot of killers do. If you get killed from under a bed, they're there the whole time when you bone, and they're hearing your vinegar strokes. They're hearing everything. They're hearing every dirty noise you're making.
Run.
Sorry, I gotta get my keys.
I would say that's probably one of the most iconic kills. It's not my favorite though.
Not your favorite. Okay.
Not my favorite. But we also, the other kills we get, was it a Bill with just the arrows? I don't hate it when you just see the aftermath but although it would have been cool to just see a dude catch a bunch of arrows.
Yeah. Which I saw, I'm telling you, I seen it. I seen the super uncut version that nobody else has memories of. It's my Mandela effect.
One of my favorite kills is not even actually a kill, but I love Brenda, the Monopoly girl. She's in her cabin reading a book with a nightgown and a candle, looking like Scrooge. I was watching it with producer wife, and I was like, "Look, it's Ebenezer Scrooge over here, all buttoned up." You just were almost naked, playing Monopoly, but you're like, let me be modest. And
a woman never goes to bed like a whore.
Yeah, but she'll play Monopoly like one. And I don't think she's a whore, by the way. But like, I love the idea and the kill of like her being lured out into the night. I love that, and it's something about just very Blair Witch to me.
Mm-hmm.
Before, obviously Blair Witch, but and then we see her body later being thrown through the window. But I just like that Miss Voorhees is really like switching up these kills. She's luring somebody out, she's sneaking up behind somebody, and then also I forgot the other thing. Who I don't remember the girl's name, but she gets it in the outhouse. Like, just you could see like the hand just pulling back the curtain a little bit. That's creepy to me,
Yeah, I think that's gonna that's gonna be Marcy, who had sex with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah,
she's like, I gotta pee after you nutted so good.
Every other podcast we haven't been this filthy, but for some reason
I feel like Friday the 13th just brings it out of people because it is the horniest franchise. I mean, there's sex in other movies that we've covered at this point, but this is again a tame entry. This series gets so horny, like like
that's
Jason,
that is the part of a trope,
like Jason gives off the pheromones. Like when he's around, people got to do it.
Yeah, there's something in the air.
So I can't wait for the comments on this. Like, why are they 12? Why'd they say nutted so much?
Well, that's just part of the vernacular around here.
It's just part of it. So yeah, she goes to the outhouse to pee, and that's got to be. You talk about sleeping on those beds. Just you get it down. You're sweaty. You're gross. You've been defiled, and then you have to go pee in the outhouse of a cabin. Like, that sounds terrible.
I've done that plenty of times.
Have you?
Yeah, I went to probably 5 or 6 years of Boy Scout camp. And I am an Eagle Scout, so I would have been able to handle Mrs. Voorhees. That's I did get that merit badge.
You would have been able to tie some knots, and also you did a very good project to clean up your neighborhood to get your Eagle Scout.
Yeah, it was taking out Mrs. Voorhees was the project.
If you want to get your eagle, you got to take out this old woman.
Yeah, you gotta, and she's crafty, so watch out. But I've spent a lot of time at Boy Scout camps. Never this alone, There are kids there, but I
thought you meant like never this alone. Like there was a Wendy's on site. Like I don't know.
Well, I wish in hindsight. I'm pretty much don't go anywhere unless there's a Wendy's within half mile.
So yeah, I respect you a lot there, because yeah, I went a few times for like youth camps and things like that with church, but I was never like, I've never been a campy person. It's never been something that I enjoy, and I don't think you are either. I think as a child,
I do enjoy it, but that's not my speed. I'm not nobody looks at me and thinks outdoorsy.
Like I'm just not an outdoorsy guy. Like when people go to music festivals, like it's so great. You're hot, you're sweaty, you don't shower for like 3 days. I was like, that's disgusting.
Terrible.
That sounds terrible. I will stay inside and watch fan cams on YouTube. I will do that.
Please kill me if I'm out that long. But but the thing is something about being in the woods, you never know who's out there, especially like if you know you're the adult around. Like these kids are the adult, because Steve Christie's out going to be back before it gets dark, but he's a liar and out all night apparently.
He's going to something. A discotheque.
Yeah, but like when you know you're the authority figure, so if like something goes wrong, you're like, who do I talk to? Because I'm the guy I should talk to. You know?
Oh no. And just knowing that as we're adults now, it's like I booked some flights back on Memorial Day weekend. It's like, I can fly by myself. It's like, you're in your 30s. It's okay.
Telling you not to, but nobody says to do it either, you know? And I don't know. What do you want to fast forward to the end? Because we pretty much covered what we got.
Yeah, but what happens? She gets the axe in the face. Steve Christie
getting it. I don't know. I just like that sequence of, oh hi, what are you doing out in this? For some reason, just getting it.
There's a lot of off-screen kills in this. There's a lot more than people would probably think. Yeah, Steve Christie. Oh, hello. Oh, hi, Mark. And then it's getting.
Oh, hey, Mrs. Voorhees, because he recognizes apparently who she is in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
It just, you don't have any questions of what. I guess he's like, what are you doing out in this mess? But also, what are you really doing out in this? Like, is she like a known person around town the way Crazy Ralph is?
Yeah, or they're like, oh, the cook's here early, but I assume she never came back.
Well, is she known around town? The people know that her son was killed while those counselors were making love? Like
they should have been watching him.
Yeah, like where's she been staying this whole time?
So everybody starts freaking out. They're finding bodies, and then a Jeep Wrangler pulls up, and it is a Jeep thing. And Mrs. Voorhees gets out and like, oh no, it's okay. And like, oh, thank you. She's here. She's like, I'm Mrs. Voorhees. And they're like, seems legit. She's everything is cool. This stranger has come to help us. People are getting murdered. We're all suspects, but this stranger is here to help. And then if somebody shows up and immediately starts asking real sus, and then goes into a monologue about their child dying, that's when you know they're doing it. That's when you know that they're responsible for everything, because people don't do that.
Nobody pulls up in monologues. They were making love while that young boy drowned. These counselors weren't making love. Let's just call it what it was. Like,
they were
nutting and running.
You know how it be. I gotta get mine, son.
Shit, I gotta be up to teach merit badges in the morning. But like,
I gotta make some s'mores and shit. I can't be going in fully loaded making s'mores.
I do like that Betsy Palmer. She talks about it. She's like, being an actress who uses the Stanislavski method, which I tried to read about it. It seems a real actor will comment, but seems very method-y type acting. She says, I always tried to find details about my character with Pamela. I began with a class ring that we see throughout the movie. The killer's wearing a class ring. I remember reading in the script that she'd worn. Starting with that, I traced Pamela back to my own high school days in the early 40s. So it's 1944, a very conservative time, and Pamela has a steady boyfriend. They have sex, which is very bad, of course. Mm-hmm. And Pamela soon gets pregnant with Jason. Father takes off, and with Pamela tells her parents they disown her because having babies out of wedlock is something good girls don't do. So that's kind of her backstory. She goes on with this, but Jason drowns the whole world, and their whole world collapses. So now her motive is when the counselors were doing, instead of watching Jason, they were having sex. So now she's like, whenever somebody has sex, that's the no. From that point on, Palmer becomes very psychotic and puritanical in her attitudes. So that's kind of her thinking around the character, and that's clearly comes across in the performance. And I don't know what you think about her performance, but even if it's like a little over the top and hokey, I really like her.
I will not say, I won't say anything bad about her. She's she does a really good job and is pretty terrifying. Like, she's just like, she lost her marbles, and now, but she has like a good reason for doing it. It's very justifiable to her of why she's doing it. Mm-hmm. She thinks sex bad. She doesn't want this camp to open again because she doesn't want anybody else to have their child drown there, which is very admirable. Like, you can see from her perspective why she's doing it. She is going about it in the wrong way. Like,
murder,
murder. Having Crazy Ralph say there's a curse on it, it's a lot. And the fact that she's still so dedicated that she's like checking the paper every day, like, is the camp opening? They open the camp. Guess I got to drive up there now and kill who's ever there.
This is very My Bloody Valentine. If they have the Valentine dance, Harry Warden's going to come back and kill everybody.
Yeah.
It's very that, and I with her performance, she's like, she'll go from like a happy smile to like just a frown, and like you could see crazy in her face. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of performance I like, is when you could see crazy in a face.
Yeah. And like the wide eyes and the kill her, mommy, kill her.
Yeah, like she's talking to herself,
Yeah, and there's like, no, I'm out. At that point, like, you got to be out. And then so you have the big finale. They're fighting with brooms, throwing stuff. Also, give a shout out to Mrs. Voorhees for being able to toss a grown-ass woman through a window.
Yeah, some of that stuff you just don't think, like, clearly that was not her, like, throwing a whole human being through the window, because I'm pretty strong, Gavin, and I don't think I could throw a whole body through a window, and I've tried.
She has the venom from Bane in Batman. Mm-hmm. She just has to hulk up, and then just like, she gets one and she's like, now's the time to chuck a body through a window. That's
you merely came to camp. I was molded by it.
She did throw a body, and then you have that one of the, I don't know if it's one of the best fights. It's just it's very much a scrap. You've got two people.
Like, she can't get the job done if somebody else knows they're fighting. Like,
because she's an old woman. She's like, she gets hit with an oar, like she's getting like blocking machetes with oars, and then drops it. And then Mrs. Voorhees, her facial expression when she knows she's about to get got. Yeah. And she knows that machete's coming for her head. And
I love the slow motion of that. There several times throughout the scene. I love the slow motion of that.
I love the slow motion of it. I love seeing the toothpicks that were holding the head on the body. It just adds to it for some reason. It's a gory decapitation. Like, there's a lot to it. It looks pretty gross. I think it holds up well.
To think Adrian King is like, I got no other choice than to cut this lady's head off. Like, in my head, I'm like, that's not something that Alice does. But it's also like, this lady's not stopping.
Yeah. You could have clipped her arm, maybe stabbed her, but like, nah, we just gotta. Yeah. It's a very definitive end to the character of like, we're gonna cut her head off, and her head does become like a thing in the other movies.
Yeah.
At least in the second one, it just becomes like a thing. So she gets killed. You have really the first use of everything is fine. This movie is over. The threat is down. Guess what? No, it's not. Jump scare. You peed a little.
Well, it's not the first use of this, Gavin.
Is it not?
Well, because the Tom Savini has said, like, the jump scare at the end was inspired by Carrie.
Oh, with the hand coming out of the grave?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna edit that out.
The second. No, but I mean, you're not wrong. Of like,
no, I know,
it's
kidding.
Different because, like, now it's a trope of you're just waiting at the end of a movie of like, oh, thank God that's over. Like,
I really hate it. It's the worst part of any horror movie for me, is everything is done. You're just like, When's the spooky face gonna pop on the screen?
When's Michael Myers' eyes gonna open in the morgue?
when is this screamer video from 2005 YouTube gonna make me piss myself?
yeah, where I hate those where somebody here watch this video and then the face pops up. God damn it,
it's just watching that car on the hillside. It's like I watched that car on the hillside video for the first time, and the scary thing popped up, and I go, I don't understand what's what. And so I watched it again. I didn't get it.
Yeah,
I was like, do I not have headphones on? Like,
what's going on? Well, we get the scare at the end, and that could be for me the oh shit moment of this movie. And we have to talk about the score in a minute, but the score helps so much with all the stuff. But like if you didn't know that was coming, and this thing just jumps up out of the water looking the way it does, you'd be like, God damn, like
when me and Stephanie watched it for the first time together, like she had never seen it ever.
Okay, yeah.
So she did not know.
That's what you need to get somebody that doesn't know and watch them,
And even knowing it's coming, you forget when it's coming.
Yeah, because it kind of holds it for a little while. It's a painting, that scene of her in the water messing around,
And you're just, even knowing it's coming, like I'm still there, like white knuckling it on my couch.
Thought you were gonna say white nutting.
You know me, I'm just white nutting, waiting for it to happen, just edging on the edges, just edging on the couch. Just when's he popping
filthiest. White knuckling.
White knuckling, you filthy asshole. Just white knuckling, just waiting for it to happen, because it zooms in and you think, okay, it's zoomed as far in as you can go, like it's gonna happen, and then it like pans out to a scary boy jumping out of the lake. And it gets me most times because I forget.
And that for me is the oh shit moment, besides Mrs. Voorhees pulling up, because you can if you didn't know, you're like, oh well, this is a new thing. And when she's talking to herself, you're like, clearly this lady is not okay. But just this movie overall is just enhanced by the score of what's his face, Harry Manfredini or whatever his name is, with the key ma ma ma, like that's iconic. And people, it's not Jaws, nothing is done, but that was, I think, taken from, if Jaws is, Bruce the shark is not on screen, but he's around, the ki ma ma ma, like you could just hear kids say that, if even in the woods, people just do ki ma ma, like that's a thing now. It's just so iconic.
It's really scary. Did you ever play the Friday the 13th video game?
Yeah, I did.
So I played online with some friends, and I had like my headphones on playing it, like my headset. And when Jason's near, like it starts, like you start hearing it close to you, and like hearing it in a game setting where Jason could come to kill you. The
heartbeat.
It's terrifying. You're like, I know this isn't real. It's a game. He's not actually coming for me, but it's terrifying, and it signals that he's near and that you are in danger. And it's just a creepy noise. It's just a creepy thing to hear in any context, even outside of the context of Jason. It's just a very creepy thing that they created for this, that has appeared in pretty much all of the movies.
I think so. Yeah. And just the score of this it's not John Carpenter. It's not Halloween, but it's still pretty good as far as reflecting what's going on in this movie.
It's a very loud score. Like
it is.
Like watching the opening credits of this, you're like, I need to turn this down. They turned it up to 11 for this.
Or
one.
God forbid you fall asleep to a DVD of it, and guess what loops during the menu is some form of this. And to me, it's not scary if you just hear that noise, but waking up in the middle of the night, no lights, and I hate falling asleep to a DVD of a horror movie, because it's never like it's never the Friends, like, it's never upbeat and happy.
It just loops the scariest scenes of the movie.
Yeah.
So you have the theme, you have people screaming, and you're like, I would like this to stop. Why is my Samsung logo not bouncing on the screen? Why is it not going to a sleep mode yet?
Trying to sleep. I'm not even scared. I'm just annoyed at this point. I found this and I didn't know, but we had to talk about during the filming of the fight sequence between Adrian King and Betsy Palmer. Betsy Palmer suggested they rehearsed the scene based on theater training. She said, I said to Adrian that night, why don't we rehearse this scene? And I have to slap you because on stage, when you slap somebody, you slap them. So while rehearsing, Palmer slapped King in the face and she began crying. She collapsed to the floor crying, Sean Cunningham, she hit me. I said, well, of course I hit her. We have to rehearse the scene. And he said, no, Betsy, we don't hit people in movies. She's just slapping people for no reason.
She just really wanted to hit her. She just wanted to, she's like, here's a theater trick. Just stand there while I hit you in the face.
Yeah, not only is she method, but so is Adrian King in that scene. I found this interesting too. While most of the cast and crew stayed in local hotels during shooting, Tom Savini and his assistant Tasso Stravikas, I think that those were the hands that killed the hitchhiker girl, stayed on the campground itself, even watching horror movies after hours on a VCR that Savini brought. If you're on set, are you staying on site at the camp, or are you going to go stay in the hotel?
Hotel. 100%. I know. Listen, I'm a princess when it comes to those things. Like, we know people, I've known comedians, I'm sure you have as well, who sleep in their car, who some of them just camp in between gigs.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm staying at the Days Inn. I don't want to rough it. I know it's hard out there on the road for a lot of people, but can't do it. Can't, too much of a princess.
But I don't know, but sometimes those hotels are worse.
Yeah, I've stayed in some bad hotels. I've stayed in some pretty bad hotels, but still, even the worst hotel for me is still probably preferred to the woods.
Well, it's you never. I hope in a hotel room found a black snake that you killed.
Yeah, which was a real snake. They killed a real snake, which is not okay.
And I guess that was like not a wild snake. That was like some dude's snake that they had. And they didn't tell this dude that they're going to kill this snake.
Mm-hmm.
So like that, and that's a thing of like, I'm not okay with like real death of any kind in a movie. I guess if they're like, oh, let's kill it if we're going to eat it later, I guess. But it just seems odd. It's not like Cannibal Holocaust type death, you know?
Yeah. It just seemed like you don't even need that scene, really. You don't.
No, it had to nothing. It just was a snake.
I mean, I guess you had it to like establish that you have a machete on site, but you could also just have it hanging there and be like, that's. Go ahead.
Nobody, Gavin, would be like, where did she get that machete? Nobody would say that, you know?
Yeah. Like, you just assume, or you can just have a line where it's like, have it hanging up and be like, if some of the brush out there needs clearing, use this machete.
Yeah.
Use Chekhov's machete, please. Go ahead and grab that.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I was like, okay, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and it's just a snake, but knowing that it's like somebody's snake, they're like, okay.
Yeah, I think the dude was upset after that. Like,
yeah, you should be. You're like, okay, Mr. Snake, you're gonna be in a movie. See you later.
Chop. Like, fuck. The original title was supposed to be Long Night at Camp Blood, or that's what Victor Miller thought. And I know there's a big court case thing between them now that I'm sure may or may not be resolved or anything by the time we're done, but that's why we've not seen any more Jason movies.
It's really annoying because I've met Victor Miller. He came to a film festival here in Evansville like 10 years ago. He's super nice, super cool to talk to, but it's also you disappeared.
All right.
So so I met Victor Miller at a film festival. He came to Evansville. He was super nice to talk to, super cool to get to know and ask questions about this movie. But at the same time, he's the reason why we haven't gotten a new Friday the 13th movie in over 10 years. He's the reason we haven't gotten any more content for the Friday the 13th game. They had so much more content planned, but when this lawsuit happened, they had to like just halt everything.
Well, is he the reason, or is it Sean Cunningham? Like, I think it's a little of both. And this is for a different podcast, but like of the legalities, because I don't know. But I'm like, seems like they've made a whole bunch of money, and then Victor Miller did not. And I'm just like, that's shitty, you know.
A lot of it goes back to who owns Jason.
Yeah, because Jason is not Friday the 13th and vice versa. That's why you get Jason Goes to Hell or all the other Jason ones as opposed to Friday the 13th.
Yeah, well, what happened with that, and I don't want to get too deep into the scary Camp Blood Woods here, but Paramount owned the first 8, and then they sold it to New Line, and I guess Paramount retained the rights to the Friday the 13th name. But they gave like all the intellectual property, Jason, Camp Crystal, like all that stuff to New Line. So that's why there's Jason X and Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, because they couldn't use the Friday the 13th name. And it
seems like a waste to hold on to one and not the other, because everybody cares about Jason. Yeah. Nobody's like, this isn't a Friday the 13th movie. They care if it's a Jason movie.
And that's why for so long it was annoying trying to buy collections of it on DVD or VHS, because they'd always have like the first 8, the end. And I don't know how Shout Factory did it, or how Shout Factory got around it, but they released the really good box set with like all of them together. Yeah,
and it's actually like good art to it, because if you've ever just seen like the generic 8 versions, it's just like a guy in a hockey mask,
like holding
the shittiest. Like it's not like. Yeah, it's Jason, but it also could be anybody else. You know?
That's and every now and then they'll have like a new collection come out, like the Shout Factory box set. That's fantastic. It's got a lot of great special features on it. But then you also have like Paramount's like, let's cash in, and they'll release like just the first 8 again. It's like, stop doing that. We have them, Paramount. We already have them. Please stop doing this to us.
Yeah, but again, I bought the one that came out, so people are buying them, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're gonna watch other films, or did you have an oh shit moment, by the way?
Probably my oh shit moment would be probably the snake. I guess, because that's just like such an upsetting part of anything.
Yeah.
And it really kind of takes you out of the movie if you forget it's gonna happen, because then you know it's real. So I think that's kind of upsetting. And then for favorite kill, I think we gotta go with Kevin Bacon, just because it is the kill people remember most from this movie.
Okay, I guess my favorite kill is either when Brenda's out in the woods and you don't even see it, or Mrs. Voorhees. And then if you're gonna watch some other movies that aren't Friday the 13th, the original, what do you recommend?
Friday the 13th, the remake. I really like the remake. Some people don't like it because they don't like Weird Hunter Jason. I think it really ties together what made the first 4 movies especially really great. And I think it takes all of those and wraps into one easily digestible package that I really enjoyed. And I'm really, really mad that all this litigation and lawsuits happened, that we never got a proper sequel to it, because I set it up. I would have loved to spend some more time in 2010's Crystal Lake. Also Cabin in the Woods. I think Cabin in the Woods it's called Cabin in the Woods. I think it is just, even if you're not watching it because it's a Friday the 13th style recommendation, I think it's just one of the best horror movies I've seen in the past 15 years. It's so creative. It's so funny. It's got super famous Chris Hemsworth in it, which I always enjoy. And then probably I want to say Cabin Fever, but I don't fondly remember that movie as much as I think I do.
Okay.
And it's been so long since I've seen it.
Let me say something that might trigger yours too. I would say the original Halloween. We've already talked about it on this program. Also Sleepaway Camp. If you're looking for like camp setting, but then also kind of a whodunit, that's pretty similar. With a shocking ending.
Yeah, that is. It's a shocking ending that, watching it through 2022 eyes, it's like,
I don't know.
This is fucked up. This is not great. This is not a great portrayal of what they're portraying.
No, I would say watch Scream. Scream is a whodunit. Because most other films, Halloween, it's Michael Myers, and for the rest of the franchise of Friday, it's Jason. With Scream, it could be any number of people. Every movie. I would say watch the rest of the Friday franchise. If you're in it for a whodunit, that's not going to be the rest of the franchise, but it's a Jason thing.
Spoiler: it's Jason every time.
It's always
except part 5.
Yeah, that's quickly becoming one of my favorites. Is part 5.
I like part 5 a lot, but it's also kind of a shitty whodunit as well, because they lead you to believe it's going to be one guy the whole time, and then they have to explain it to you who it was. And you're like, I guess it was him. Okay.
Well, at least you see the guy a couple times in the movie before you figure out it's him. With this first one, you don't see it at all.
Yeah.
And also, I love that in the part 5, there's a somehow picture of Jason in the paper, as like if somebody shot his picture and then ran away.
That's why it's just like, who's getting these headshots for Jason?
I think part 5 is just such a funny movie in general.
It's the horniest of the franchise for sure.
Well, it made me the horniest, I can tell you that much. And then I would also say the fan film for Friday the 13th is called Never Hike Alone. It's on YouTube for free.
That's one I have not seen.
Excellent. It's better than some of the ones in the franchise.
Okay.
And it's free.
I've heard that. It's free because it has to be.
Well, it's just really well done. And I would say Black Christmas.
Oh, that's a fun one too. Okay.
I think that's a whodunit. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I think it's a lot of it's done through POV, kind of like this. And then I would say watch the documentary Crystal Lake Memories. If you like the franchise, that's also a great addition. And
it really goes into all of them. It goes because it came out in 2013 to 2012.
Was it narrated by what's his face? Corey
Feldman.
Yeah,
it goes through everything. It is 8 hours long, like not a joke. It is an 8-hour long documentary, so watch that bad boy in spurts unless you want to clock in and like spend a whole work day watching it.
Yeah, but that's definitely worth checking out. So did you have any other ones?
I think you named all of them. Sleepaway Camp. At times I think Sleepaway Camp, I've only seen the first Sleepaway Camp, but at times I think Sleepaway Camp does a better job at portraying like the camp life than Friday the 13th. I've heard the second one.
Well, there's actually kids at the camp too.
Yeah, I like that. I like that aspect of it. And Sleepaway Camp will be one that we should maybe cover on here at some point.
No.
Okay, good. Cool. All right.
Good conversation.
Guess I'm gonna go nut myself, and we're gonna
maybe. I wouldn't disagree with that. I think we've said all that needs to be said. There's a lot of stuff out there that's supplemental material that you could find if you wanted to know more.
All I know is that as long as that we mentioned at the very beginning, but Jason is the most toyetic of the killers, because he's got so many different looks for toys that they sell to us, and it's so good, so toyetic.
Yeah, there's different versions, and what if you're not familiar, toyetic means different versions of the same thing. So wrestling figures are very toyetic as far as you want 8 different Shawn Michaels because they got them.
Yeah.
And Friday the 13th, like they've just, despite like not making movies, they are making toys,
and all the figures are kind of the same. There's the only difference between a Friday the 13th part 3 Jason and a part 4 Jason is some blood on his shirt and an axe wound in his head. That is it. But they both cost you $35.
Yeah, and I own both of them, Gavin. So,
as you should.
And you probably do too, right?
I don't own those, but I do own like Baghead Jason, Part 6 Jason, Roy Burns Jason.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. Just give us 5 stars. Appreciate you listening.
Really do. We love you.
And don't forget that Jason's coming to get you.
Barbara?
Yeah.
They're coming to get you. They're coming for you, Barbara. They're coming to get you.